Yeah, I know. Like this, you got your my full face, but structure.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I like it.
He's so
They call
dark.
me the Kimco pastor. It's
Yeah,
pretty awesome there.
you told me that.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, he's moving. That's for sure. You know, and
That's an understatement.
well, you know,
In my life, anyways.
it's hard to put a statement on his power, right? Like it's
No.
hard to, like to me anyway. Like
Yeah. It's
sometimes I
unfathomable.
can't find the words to say what he's
No,
doing. He's just doing it,
it's unfathomable.
right?
Like I can't understand it.
And when you do understand it, you just sometimes what I'm saying. Sometimes it's
No,
hard to
where it comes.
explain and express it.
But
It's just sit there.
when it comes to you though, honestly, you really mean it.
Sometimes it is confusing, right?
It's
On
very like,
guitar, right?
wow. It's just incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Oh.
Like it's overjoying. Like you
Definitely.
can't even. I don't know.
So go
I'll
through
praise.
that.
I'll praise him.
Yes, always praise him. Definitely. That's yeah. This is pretty interesting so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to go on to the thing for to work for you,
Okay.
but I'm just putting the link online.
Okay, cool.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
All right, man.
I'm okay.
Good. Nice and
Oh,
tight
cool.
over there.
What is this?
Yeah, man.
Oh, it's for sitting down. It's for your back support.
Funny the day if you're
Nice.
if you're a duck. You come and give massages? I'm like, I'm not. Good stuff.
You throwing things at me now?
Always.
All right. Yep. I just thought if that ever happened, the way things are going on my life, if something like that ever happened, I would be able to relieve the enemy in the moment. But I was took off guard. Like I didn't expect that to ever happen. It's like, whoa, what's going on? And then the old instincts came out.
You know what's funny
Yeah,
too?
yeah, you played that pretty good.
Really,
Right, yeah, yeah. But I think looking for the next time that ever happens to happen, I think now I have a strong heal situation,
Abby. Abby. Abby, do I need to be louder? Do I need to be louder? Or is it just for here? Okay. Yeah, if that's what's worked best, that's fine. Yeah.
I always enjoy like your smiles and your eyes
idea. All right, so we're going to try to start in about a minute. So we'll just let people trickle in, and I think some people went to the washroom, so we'll get started in about a minute. How's this sound? Ebby said he had it turned just for the online. Should it be, oh, how's that for people? Is that better? Yeah, I don't want to yell, because then I'm trying to yell in here, and it's too loud on here. Testing. How's that? Testing. Is that good? There? Like so? I can go closer as well.
I don't think I'd take the gun ones, but I'm not sure.
Hello to everyone online. We are going to get started shortly. Just one more minute. Let's get started. Okay. So, welcome to today's workshop at Rustle Church, Practical Strategies for Mental Health in a Pandemic. I'm Chelsea Stelmack, and happy to be here with you guys today, talking about mental health stuff and our faith. Hi! And hi to everybody online. Just a couple of housekeeping type items before we get started. Can everybody show me your cell phone? I know you all have one. Show it to me. Okay, great. Now turn the sound off. It doesn't have to be all the way off, but please turn the sound off. You can have it on vibrate if you are expecting a call. That's fine. Thank you. And I would just like to say I am a registered psychotherapist. However, I am not your therapist. So the information that I will be providing today is very general information. This is not specific medical advice for you as an individual. So this is general advice that may or may not be helpful to you. And so if you do have a serious mental health issue or a diagnosis of some type, or you are concerned about your mental health, then I do recommend that you see a physician. I am not a physician and cannot diagnose you and cannot support you with other types of treatment. So therefore, general information, please use at your discretion. We will have some times for discussion, a little bit of chit-chat here and there. As we're discussing, please be considerate of other people and do not share too much information or graphic information that could be triggering to other people. So it's fine to say something like, I've really struggled with, dark thoughts in my life, but maybe don't go into the details of what that actually wound up looking like. Just so that we're really, being careful with each other, taking care of each other. All right. So before we start, I'm just going to pray real quick and ask God to bless our time. So God, thank you for this place and this space and the opportunity to be able to talk about how you have made our brains and our minds and our souls and how all of that works together with our bodies and with our communities. And I just pray that you would bless our time together, speak through me, and allow us to speak well to each other. I pray that some of the practical things that we learned today would be tools that can really help us improve our mental health and help us deal with the stress that we're dealing with in this COVID time. And so please be here with us. I just pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So my name is Chelsea. As you may know, I am married to Todd. We have been married for 18.5 years, and we have a son named Noah. I'm 40 years old. I work at Queen's University as a counselor. And personally, I have struggled with mental health since I was about 13 or 14 years old. And so I've dealt with depression and anxiety during that time. And that's a big part of the reason why I became a therapist, is that the struggles I've experienced personally, I felt were something that was really, really big in my life and that I wanted to be able to help other people with. And so I'm really thankful that God has blessed me with support, and both personal and professional, and helped me with things like medication and self-care practices. And it's taken a really, really long time for me to figure out what combination of things works well for me. And so I would just encourage you, if you're struggling now, and even if you've tried this or that or this type of therapy or that type of medication, I would just encourage you to keep trying, because it can take a really long time to figure out what the right combo is for you. And so, yeah, that's enough about me. Okay, so practical strategies for mental health in a pandemic. Obviously, the things that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis maybe have been exacerbated by the pandemic. And so, yes, it is working, great. And so for our workshop today, our goals are to look just generally at what is anxiety, what is stress, what is depression. Because we have such a short time together, we won't have time to sort of go very deeply into those things. We won't have time to go into other mental health diagnoses and that type of thing. And so anxiety, stress, and depression are sort of three big umbrella topics that other more specific topics might fall under. And so we're going to look at those briefly. We're going to talk a little bit about how COVID has impacted all of our stress in a chronic way, and also how that connects to trauma. Again, very briefly. These are all topics that we could spend days on. And we're going to talk a little bit about our own experiences with mental health issues. I'm hoping really to focus on points 4 and 5, so what we can do to better support our mental health and to look at strategies, skills, and supports. So I really want to focus on kind of the practical piece of things. And just touch briefly again on faith and mental health. Obviously, Tay did such an amazing job at the other workshop, which I believe is recorded and on YouTube, so you can check that out if you need a refresher there. And so this is a workshop, and so I feel that Tay was really nice to you guys last time. For those of you who were here last time, I'm going to make you work a little harder than Tay did, so get ready to do some work. Okay, I think that's enough of that. That's right, it's time to get working. All right, so we'll start off with just very briefly, again, what is anxiety, what is stress, and what is depression? And so a person may have 1, 2, or all 3 of these things happening in their lives at any given time. Oftentimes, when it comes to diagnosis, it's actually quite difficult to tell the difference between depression and anxiety or chronic stress. And so, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about what these things actually are. And so anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, unease, typically about an imminent event or an uncertain or unknown outcome. And so the big piece there is the unknown, the uncertainty. And of course, COVID, all unknown, all uncertain. So that's really big for impacting anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. And so anxiety actually physiologically impacts your body. And I can't stress enough how important it is to know that, so that we don't wind up being unkind to ourselves and saying, I should be doing better at this, I should be able to be calm, I should be able to just, manage everything right now. Your body is actually doing things that are outside of your control. So it's actually really important to know that. When it comes to stress, stress is a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. Again, COVID, super demanding circumstances that we've been living in for about a year now. It is a physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension. And so again, sort of this feeling of ongoing tension. Stress also can, in a chronic way, lead to physical and mental illness. Okay. Ooh, so many things to juggle. There we go. What is depression? And so when I talk about depression, in this case, I'm talking about major depressive disorder or clinical depression. And so I'm not talking about, if you do not experience depression and sometimes, have a day where you feel a bit sad. Feeling sad is a normal emotion and a totally acceptable emotion, but it's different from depression. And so depression is a mood disorder that causes persistent feelings of sadness, loss of interest in activities, relationships, work, and loss of enjoyment in interests. It really massively impacts how you feel, think, behave, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. People with depression may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities, and may become socially isolated, and sometimes may even feel as though life is not worth living. So depression is more than just a little bout of the blues or feeling sad about a sad event. Depression isn't a weakness, and you can't simply snap out of it. I know that was something I was told quite frequently when I was younger. It was like, why are you sad? Oh, there's nothing really sad happening in your life, so you should be happy, right? And of course, that is not the case. Depression, as a mood disorder, is a chemical imbalance in your brain. And again, so your body is like doing things that are outside of your control. Depression may require long-term treatment, and people with depression may feel better with medication, psychotherapy, or both. And so really important, again, just that whole figuring out what the pieces of the puzzle are for you. Just important to know that it can take time to find the right combination. Okay, so that's, I know, very, very fast overview of anxiety, stress, and depression. Just a little bit of food for thought. Anxiety and stress are actually essential for our survival. So this is not something where we're like, oh, let's get rid of all anxiety and stress in our lives. Because that would actually be a bad thing. Because anxiety alerts us to possible danger and motivates us to react. And stress triggers the body to prepare to deal with challenges and cope with difficulty. And so there's this thing in our nervous system that is called the F3, or fight, flight, or freeze system. And so it's part of your nervous system. It is beautifully designed by God, and has been meant to help us find safety and deal with danger. And so our nervous system is just totally incredible. I could go on for hours about how our brains function, about how our nervous system functions, about the hair trigger response that happens when your brain perceives danger or perceives some type of threat. In that hair second, I'm talking less than a millisecond, your body switches into fight, flight, or freeze and decides in less than a millisecond what you need to do in order to keep yourself safe. It pumps out adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream to help you get ready to fight off danger or run away from danger or hide from danger. And your body and nervous system do that in a fraction of a second. It's absolutely amazing and incredible. And you have almost no control over the system whatsoever. So if your brain perceives any type of threat, this system is activated and you have no choice. And so just really important to know that this system is a beautiful system. It's designed to keep us safe. It's a wonderful thing. The problem is when we've experienced chronic stress or trauma, that system has been activated over and over and over again. And our brains and bodies are not meant to live that way. We're not meant to live in a constant state of threat or danger. And so that's when things start to go wrong. And so yes, I'll stop talking about the brain because I really honestly could just talk about it for a long time. Okay, so just a little bit about COVID and the pandemic we've been living in for over a year now. Really, this is a situation that, I hate that word unprecedented. I swear I hear it like 4 times a day. I'm going to delete it from the English language. So really, this is a situation of stress and trauma that really has not been seen since probably World War II, if we're talking about the global impact. So some people say, you know, like 9/11 was, you know, massive collective stress and trauma. Well, sure, for people in New York specifically and America, and maybe North America, but like not the rest of the world. So COVID is absolutely a global phenomenon. And when we're experiencing chronic stress for long periods of time, this leads to a variety of mental and physical problems. And so again, that nervous system being triggered over and over and over again leads to chronic stress. And so the pandemic has led to an increase in rates of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, domestic violence, and deaths due to overdose. It has also increased unemployment and complex grief. And so these are all things, obviously, that have a massive impact on our well-being. Many theorists are beginning to identify COVID-19 as a global traumatic event, and so similar to World War II, where it is something that you cannot escape, you cannot get away from, you cannot sort of get safe from, other than staying home all the time. And so one theorist that I was reading said a global traumatic event, a collective trauma, is a cataclysmic event that shatters the basic fabric of society. Aside from the horrific loss of life, collective trauma is also a crisis of meaning. And so again, I feel like we could talk about this for hours. But basically, for those of us who have experienced trauma, COVID is trauma on trauma. And so big feelings, big anxiety, big depression in this time is totally, totally valid. It makes total sense because the things that you've experienced in your past are now being triggered over and over and over again as we deal with having to deal with COVID every single day. I think I will go to the next one and then I'll pause for questions. And so COVID has had a massive impact on how we normally cope. Obviously, the restrictions that are necessary to manage the pandemic have basically eliminated a lot of the normal things we would do to help ourselves feel well. And so, you know, we've got lots of things in our lives that that would, you know, help us. What was I? Oh, yeah. So things like going to the gym, self-care activities, getting involved in church, support groups, sports, visiting with family, don't take work home with you, spend time with friends, hugs and smiles, have a plan and a routine. So like all of these things have basically just been canceled in many ways. And so if we are unwell, it's because we're experiencing a normal reaction to abnormal circumstances. So if you are unwell, it is not some type of defect inside of you as an individual. It is because you are having a completely normal reaction to extraordinary and abnormal circumstances. And so I think we need to really remember this and take this to the bank, because it is so important in this time to be kind to ourselves, to validate to ourselves that, yeah, this is really hard. This is really awful. No one in the past, I'm really bad at math. When was World War II? 100 years, 80 years? Terrible at math, has experienced anything like this. But, so here's the but. Just because, you know, this is hard and this is awful and we may have past trauma and it is huge and we are feeling terrible, it doesn't mean we can't do anything. Okay, so we are going to go on to some discussion and whatnot and some exercises, but does anyone have any comments or questions at this point? Okay, great. Okay, so we are going to move on to our first activity. Okay, and so you'll need your blank piece of paper. On the front of your little handouts of paper, there should be a blank piece of paper. And so we're going to talk a little bit about our experiences with anxiety, stress, and depression. And so what I'd like you to do on your blank piece of paper is to describe or draw whatever feels good for you. So you can just jot down words in a brainstormy kind of way, or you can, write sentences if you love to write sentences, or you can draw an actual picture of what anxiety, stress, depression, or whatever mental health issue you're dealing with, what it would look like as if it were a thing. So like as if it were a shape, as if it were a creature, as if it were an animal, as if it were a color, as if it were a thing that you could actually see. And so I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that, maybe like 2, like not super long. So just whatever comes to mind. Don't overthink it. Just go right into it. Whatever comes to mind, describe or draw whatever mental health issue you're dealing with as if it was a thing. So what does it look like? What shape is it? What color is it? I know you've only got pencils, but, try to think about what it would look like. And as you're working away there, maybe think about what does it look like? Where does it tend to hang out? Where do you notice it showing up in your life? Relationships, work, your health, somewhere else? Okay, and I'll give you 1 more minute. Good. So, would anyone be interested in sharing what they wrote or drew, their anxiety, stress, or depression, what it looks like, what shape it takes, what form it takes, or what words came to mind when thinking about these issues? Would anyone share? No pressure whatsoever. It's totally fine if you don't want to share.
I will.
Okay.
I've got a list of things that I just wrote that came to me when I think about anxiety in my life. I wrote first insecurity because insecurity, unreality. Okay, so I just kind of want to explain why I wrote these things. So insecurity because I have so much fear. My life feels like it's terrorized constantly. And that's because of social fear. And because, like, for today, I'm speaking now in life, not my whole life. Work struggles. When I'm at work, since I started work 5 months ago, I have days, so many days, like almost every day, where like these people love me there, but I'm like inside, like tremors or whatever you call that, insecurities and fear of rejection, feeling like I'm like this to them. And then it causes problems with friends because basically it's not like there's like actual drama issues. It's like I isolate, I withdraw. Most of my life, all my life actually, whenever I got close to somebody, I always at some point in their life disappear. It causes my family, like my growing up family, anybody that's family to me, and my immediate family right now, so much pain because these people care for me, but they can never help me because of, because I was so spiritually forfeited, like I didn't want to live anymore most of all my life. Like there's so many points where I just wanted to give up, and my spirit just threw in the towel, like I'm done. and so that like was always hard for my people who care about me to deal with. It makes me feel lifeless with like physical, no energy, which makes me hopeless, and I hate myself. And for a lot of years, like a lot of my life, I hated the world for it. So yeah, that's where I'm at with anxiety.
Yeah, that's really big, Billy. Thank you for sharing. And so you mentioned that like insecurity and fear are big parts of that. If mental health issues in your life were a thing, would an invisible shrink ray be a good like metaphor for it? Like it makes you feel as though you're small.
I feel like everybody sees who, like they can open me like a book.
Yeah.
And they know.
Yeah.
They know, like there's nothing I feel like that's like ugly about me. I feel like it's all exposed. That makes me feel like this.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And like it's when I wrote Unreality, it's because it's not even real.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
All right, thank you so much for sharing, Billy. That's really awesome. Would anyone else feel like sharing? No pressure whatsoever. It's totally fine if you don't want to. Yeah? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Sometimes I have residual ups and downs. Like sometimes I feel like I am prone to depression too, but I've done fairly well, I believe, mainly since coming to really depending on the Lord and having relationships, so it makes it a lot better. But there's times where I know, this is a good thing though, I know that I will sometimes get in that sadness. So I sort of made it look like wave, like almost like up and downs.
Yeah,
So
waves.
this can change. Sometimes the down is actually up here and quite a plateau for quite a long time.
Mhm.
And then something will trigger it. I'll think of something or I'll smell something, and it's been, different. Basically, I feel like I've lost all my family except my brothers and their children.
Mhm.
So to me, anyways, I don't want to get going on that, but just that's that. And my mom, she's had that thing called Alzheimer's, and everybody thinks it's normal or not normal, right? Like you either had it or I get it. But you don't get it when suddenly they're just taken away and put in a nursing home, both of them, your parents.
Mm. And so you were saying that sort of a shape or feeling that comes to mind is waves, in terms of mood and experience. Yeah.
And then like sometimes I also thought about it in terms of the waves would be the crying, that wave of that thing, and then I saw sparkles, because when I'm really happy or even if I'm in this normal zone, there's a really good kind of this thing, and then I'll think of something, or my double things happen, which are like times where I hear something and then I see it again, and it reminds me that God's always with me, and He's providing, and He's done so many wonderful things. So I can't help but not be joyful in just that, or I'll go for a walk, or I'll look at nature, and so I found pretty good coping tools over.
Nice.
But I've had almost until my mom died in 19. It was 2009 when she got shoved in there. My mom and dad both together. But anyways, point is that's 10 years of my mom in Guelph and my parents in Guelph. 10 years not seeing her at once.
Yeah. And that really impacted your mood and your stress.
Yeah, they used to call it, for this specific situation, I heard it called, actually I might be able to mention, I'll probably forget it right now, but it's called, it's like when you're in a state of, I can't think of it now, it's like, you should be able to be grieving because she's lost, but she's not lost, she's still living. I feel happier since she's gone, because I know she's in heaven. Yeah. And it's a relief now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So there you go. So the sparkles, that's what I had. And then the other part, sorry, it's okay, I'm just finished. The other part is probably still related to whatever kind of stuff goes on. Yeah. And I feel like I get confused, or I'll like wander around, like where did I put that thing, or papers. I hate it's so important for me to write stuff down. Right. But then they're all over there. Once in a while I'll organize, it feels good. But it's not good, because it's like, where is my stuff?
So would a jumble of papers be a good metaphor for stuff like stress and anxiety?
She's got something.
That's why they paid me the big bucks.
I used to do that. Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Awesome. So anyone else want to share briefly? No? Okay. So the reason I bring this exercise up, I think it can be a really useful exercise, especially for those of us who are sort of more visual learners or conceptualize things in a visual way. When my therapist asked me this question,
No idea how many years ago that was. I was going to say 8, but that's probably wrong. When my therapist asked me this question and said, like, what does depression look like for you? I boom, immediately had this vision of a massive black, heavy, gray, slimy yet spiky ball that I was carrying inside of my rib cage, which sounds really dramatic and gross. But I told her that. That is exactly what it feels like. And she said, how does it feel to be carrying that around all the time? And I was like, oh, terrible. And so I think it can be this is a useful exercise, because it's really important for us to think about the issues that we deal with mental health as issues as problems that we ourselves are dealing with. And so what I mean to say here is that you are not the problem. The problem is the problem. So people are not problems. The problems they are dealing with are problems. And I know that sounds like just sort of like, maybe it sounds like, psychobabble and mumbo jumbo, but the way that we think about our problems, the way that we talk about our problems and conceptualize our problems has a huge impact on how we wind up feeling about them and thinking about them and dealing with them. And so really important just to remember that, like, whatever issue you're dealing with, anxiety, stress, depression, other mental health issues, that is the problem. It is outside of you, though of course it is also in you in some ways in terms of chemicals and whatnot. It is a problem that you are dealing with. It does not define you. Yes? Good. Okay. If I could draw this well, this is maybe how I would also draw my experience with depression. Sort of this, it's just this little thing. It's kind of sitting on your shoulder sometimes, it's kind of bumming you out, but it's not a big deal. And then it seems to just like kind of grow and get bigger, and then it climbs on your back, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like taking over your mind, and then it's just like, whoop, like it's taken all of you. And so I wish I could draw this well, but this is a cartoon I like that sort of visualizes depression. This is a little GIF that I think is an excellent image of anxiety. Just sort of, going about your day, minding your own business, and boom, there's like this huge, scary thing that makes you feel like you're going to panic. And it's in your brain. And so, like Tay wonderfully talked about at her workshop a couple of weeks ago, fear is a liar. And we super, super need to remember this. So many of the thoughts that go through our mind on a regular basis are lies from fear. And so we need to really be aware of some of the particular lies that anxiety and depression try to convince us of, and really start to notice some of the traps that they can use to get us to believe that they're truths. And so some of the traps that I think are most common are thoughts that start with, contain the words should, always, never, can't, and impossible. And so an example of this might be, I should always be able to perform perfectly at my job. Or, things never go my way. Those are a few examples. Can anyone else think of particular examples that you can think of that contain the words should, always, never, can't, impossible, lies that you know have happened in your own mind?
So that the person I was could ever be the person I'm becoming. For most of my life, all my life, I've used that.
Okay, so Billy said, for those of you online, it's impossible to become, no, sorry, I'm going to mess it up.
It's impossible for me to get out of the world that I was in and actually get into the world that I'm actually now in. And now it makes me feel like I can't, even though I'm doing it, it's like you can't, but I'm doing it.
Yeah. So it's impossible for me to change from what I used to be into what I'm becoming. That's an impossible change, even though I'm doing it, but I still feel like I can't. I can't do it. I can't change. Okay. Anybody else? Always, should, never, can't, impossible. Abby, is that a hand up?
Yeah, some variation of I should be past this by now, or I should be better at this by now.
Totally. I should be past this by now. I should be better at this by now. Yeah, I think of that one as like a little clock on your shoulder, right? Like this invisible clock that's like tick, 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 and telling you like, yeah, enough time has passed that you should be perfect at this, or you should be better at this, or you should be over it. As though that's measurable, right? Like, let's say you've lost someone, and people are like, wrap it up with the grief, like, hurry it up. That's not measurable. Grief is not measurable. Other things that we deal with in our lives are not measurable. There is no clock. Anyway, I'm sorry, I could rant about that for a really long time. Sorry, I stopped myself. Anyone else? Shoulds, always, never, can't, impossible. Any other examples of these kinds of thoughts? Okay, back.
I should be like other people who are my age or, whatever, there.
Nice.
Be like other people.
I I should be like other people my age. I should be living up to how my peers are living. Everybody else my age seems to be succeeding or getting careers or getting married or whatever. And so I should be more like those people. Yeah.
I feel like it ultimately all leads back like to making us feel like we're losers.
Yeah. And so
Never
fear
amount
is
to nothing.
totally trying to like make you feel like a loser, make you feel small. What were you gonna say, Trev?
Never amount to nothing.
You'll never amount to nothing. Yeah, totally.
Well, actually, mine was going to be similar along that line, where it's always, and then whatever the negative thing is that you're always defeated on. Oh, I'm always losing that. I'm always, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I always lose my keys. I'm always
Losing them.
getting squashed when it comes to like finances. I'm always,
Making mistakes.
always making mistakes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so I think we get the picture here. Basically, when you notice these types of words flowing through your mind, when you notice thoughts that contain the words should, always, never, can't, or impossible, just do a little check there, because it's likely a trap. It's likely a trap, it's likely a lie, and you need to start to become more aware of those thoughts. Those words are little red flags for you to notice.
I find when I do that, when I take that moment and I try to identify those things, I find what helps me to actually do that is look at myself, do some self-inventory. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, so when you notice those
Eyes
eyes
popping into
popping,
your brain, to just take a moment, take a breath, and do a little self-inventory. Maybe even, and I mean, like Tay talked about this so well, I don't want to rehash it too much because we have so little time. But like maybe even check with like, what would Jesus say about this thought I'm having? So like, I should be perfect at everything. What would Jesus think about that idea? Well, I guess he wouldn't say that I need to be perfect at everything because he was actually perfect at everything. And so he is handling that for me and loves me and accepts me unconditionally anyway, right? So like sometimes doing a little noticing of the thoughts and then just checking them for truthfulness, or we're gonna get into another exercise later where we'll be able to sort of check it a little bit further. But also just saying like, what would Jesus think about this thought I'm having? And that's sometimes a good way to check these things. Okay. All right, so we're on to what can we do to better support our mental health? And so, yes, these feelings we're having are big and totally, I cannot stress enough that they are totally valid. So if you are feeling very unwell, that is totally valid. However, it does not mean that there is absolutely nothing we can do. The good news is that there is still lots we can do. And so the keys are making very small positive changes, very small. Practicing those changes and repeat. Just over and over and over again. And this is the part that I am very bad at. And so when I was 13, 14 years old and started to have mental health problems, I definitely really thought that there should be like an instantaneous fix that would make me feel better. And, you know, that I wouldn't really have to put too much work into. And I think that I continued to believe that through most of my early 20s and probably into my 30s. And so just really important to know there is no instantaneous fix. Medication is a small piece of the puzzle. They say that for most mental health medications, even if you decide to take medication, it really only helps about 30 to 40% of the problem. So like helpful for sure. And can perhaps help you get to a better baseline where you can do therapy and other things. But it does not fix everything. And so just really important to know, it's all about practice. It's all about the ways that we take care of ourselves, connect with our community, connect with God. It's all about practice. Okay, and so just a little side note that I would like to talk about before we get to a few practical exercises for us to do. So there's this concept that comes out of a type of therapy called dialectical behavioral therapy. It's not important. Radical acceptance. And so the concept of radical acceptance is that there may be things in our lives, COVID being one of those things, that we cannot control and that are really bad and that happen to us. And if we fight against those things, it actually wastes energy. If we spend time going, I wish COVID wasn't happening, I wish COVID wasn't happening, I wish COVID wasn't happening, we're actually wasting time and energy that we could be spending on doing something productive and taking care of ourselves. And so the pain and loss of living during COVID-19 is real, but we can reduce our suffering by accepting reality rather than fighting it. And so we can focus on what we can control. We may not be able to use our preferred coping strategies, so we may not be able to necessarily, depending on lockdown situation and whatever, we may not be able to meet in groups, we may not be able to hug people we want to hug, that kind of thing, but we can still prioritize taking care of ourselves and others, and learning new ways to be well in difficult circumstances. And so radical acceptance does not say that we should say, COVID-19 is a wonderful thing and I love that it's here, right? That's not what we're saying. We don't have to like what's happening. We don't have to say it's good. We just have to accept that it's real. And so a little example, which is really funny because I didn't know it was going to rain today, is the idea of when it is raining, what would acceptance look like when it's raining? And so a lack of acceptance or fighting against reality when it's raining would look like this. You would say, I don't like the rain. I wish it wasn't raining. My day would be better if it wasn't raining. It's always raining. Every day like this is terrible. Why does it always have to rain when all I want it to do is not rain, right? So like, there you go. And so, right? And so there's nothing we can do about it, right? There is absolutely nothing you can do about the fact that it is raining. You cannot change the rain. And so if we take a moment to go, yes, it is raining. Sorry? Right. Exactly. For sure. That's an excellent point. And many people sort of get tripped up on this idea with radical acceptance that we're saying the bad thing is a good thing. So that's not the case. We're not saying that the bad thing is a good thing. We're just saying that it's real. So I'm not saying that, I'm so happy that it rained today and maybe people didn't come because it was raining. I'm not saying I'm happy about that or that it's a good thing. I'm simply saying that is the reality that I'm living in. And I can't control that. I can't make it stop raining. I can't stop COVID. Yes. Perfect. Yes, that's exactly it. And so that is actually an example of radical acceptance, is looking at the fact that it's raining and saying, great, I'm going to wear a raincoat. I'm going to take an umbrella. Lack of radical acceptance would actually be saying it shouldn't be raining and I'm going to go outside in a t-shirt. That would be a lack of acceptance. Go ahead.
Since we're in a pandemic, it's a lockdown, for example, and my escape with my everyday stresses, my anxieties, my depression, whatever, is the gym. And I can't go there.
Yes.
So what else can I do? I can go to the country, go down a nice long nature trail.
Nice.
I can do other things. I can put a raincoat on.
Absolutely.
You know?
I just want to say for the people online, Billy was saying, another example.
Was closed. That was a really important coping strategy. Instead of saying, why is the gym closed? The gym shouldn't be closed. I wish the gym was open. Instead of just sitting around saying that every day, instead Billy is going for walks, going for runs out in the country. He's accepting that the gym is closed and doing something productive about it. I love that. That's perfect. So that is radical acceptance. Love it. Okay, so really important things. Whoop. So I just want to say, I hope I don't come off as lecturing like a mom when I talk about the important basics around healthy eating and drinking water and watching your caffeine intake. And so obviously these things are important. And they're not just important because your mom probably told you they were important. They're actually important, again, if we go back to the nervous system that we were talking about earlier. The nervous system is meant to take note of anything that could be a threat to your survival. And so if you don't eat, the nervous system starts to shoot out cortisol and adrenaline and telling you something's wrong, we don't have enough calories, there's not enough energy, something's wrong, go do something about it. And it starts to say, you have to do something about this, right? So when we don't eat decent, regular, healthy meals on a regular basis, when we don't drink enough water, when we have too much caffeine, gotta watch that one myself. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Totally. And it's really hard when you're feeling intense anxiety, when you're feeling intense depression. It is difficult to force yourself to eat breakfast every day. It is hard to remember to drink water on a frequent basis. Absolutely. Just touching on this very briefly to encourage you to try. And again, it's all about those small little steps that you can take, figuring out little strategies for yourself. So for many clients that I work with, we work on setting timers and notifications in their phones. And so like every 30 to 40 minutes, time for a drink of water. Every 3 hours, you should be eating a meal or having a snack. And so like figuring out like how can I help myself do what I need to do on a physical level to help my body feel okay, to help reduce anxiety. I don't want to spend too much time on that because you guys know this stuff. Sorry, go ahead. Totally. Yeah. Because, if it's been, if you woke up, drank a big thing of coffee, go ahead. Drank a big thing of coffee and just went about your day and you're working hard and you're busy, right? Like by 3 o'clock, you're probably like running on fumes, and that's not going to help your stress and anxiety.
First thing in the morning, and it doesn't matter what time you eat, it's just what you eat.
Exactly.
So when it comes to my job too, and it's stupid that I do it, but it's all physical, and I'm sweating like crazy. By the time like 2 o'clock comes around, I'm getting those stomach pains, you know what I mean? The hunger pains, and then I can't think straight, and sometimes if there's a situation I might get a little frustrated.
Totally.
Because I'm not thinking straight.
Exactly. And that's your nervous system.
On edge to hopefully alert you to the fact that you need to drink water and have a snack, right? And so if we can sort of get ahead of those things and just do them even when we don't super feel like doing them, I know it's a bummer, but but it's going to benefit you. It's going to perhaps prevent higher stress and higher anxiety and lower depression if we're able to sort of get ahead on some of these really basic things. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so sleep. In your papers that you have there should be a handout that says sleep hygiene. And so sleep hygiene is things we can do to help our sleep be healthier and better and more good. That's not a word. Okay, so anyway, talking about sleep. Sleep, super important. Lack of sleep can actually cause anxiety, and anxiety tends to cause lack of sleep. So it's a really terrible vicious cycle. When you feel anxious, you've probably experienced like lying there in bed for hours and hours, not being able to fall asleep. There are things you can do to help your sleep be healthier. People who get good sleep are better able to deal with stress. People with depression may have low energy and oversleep, and this can actually create further problems with health and mood. So super important as much as possible. Again, no judgment here, but like as much as possible, try to stick to a regular sleep schedule. Adults should be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep regularly. Some people can go outside of that, that's fine. But on a regular basis, somewhere in that zone is what your body actually requires. Big thing I'd like to talk about with sleep is screens. So it has been absolutely proven by science that screens are very, very bad for your sleep. So if at all possible, stopping screens at least an hour before bedtime. Use of screen, whether that's your phone or computer or TV, right before bedtime has actually been proven to, you may be able to fall asleep, but you are not getting REM sleep, which is the deep sleep, the restful sleep that your body actually needs to regenerate energy and cells and whatnot. And so super, super important to stop screens at least an hour before bed if you can. If you have any particular sleep problems or significant sleep problems, you should seek medical help. There are things that can be done to improve your sleep. That may include going to the sleep lab and having a sleep study done. What's that? Yeah, right. And so like there are definitely things that can improve your sleep and may have like a really massive impact on your mental health. So absolutely. Absolutely. And prayer may be a big part of it. And potentially something I'm gonna bring up a little later. Things we can do before bed that sort of involve your phone, but you don't need to be looking at it, would be using perhaps a guided prayer or a guided Christian meditation to help your body relax, to help your body get ready for sleep, is an excellent thing to do before bed. Absolutely. Okay. So, yeah, potentially reading. For some people, reading can be good. No? Tay, can you make it go? Oh, there it goes. Okay, so we are going to do a little bit of practice of some actual skills and strategies for our mental health. So a little sort of metaphor that I'd like to share with you guys is the idea of your mental health is a lot like your dental health. And so we all know that brushing our teeth, maybe flossing our teeth, using mouthwash, these things are really important to help our teeth and gums and whatnot be good and healthy in the long run, right? How frequently do we need to be brushing our teeth to expect our teeth and gums to be healthy in the long run? Twice a day, roughly, yeah. And so if I brushed my teeth once a week, what would you expect would happen? Yeah, my teeth are going to turn yellow. I'm going to have some cavities. There's going to be problems, right? If I brushed my teeth once a month, what do you think would happen? That's right. I'm going to have even more problems. I'm going to have stinky breath. Awesome. And so when it comes to mental health, the strategies and skills that we can learn to support ourselves are like brushing your teeth. They are things that we need to practice on a very regular basis, I would argue daily basis, if not twice a day type of basis. Ooh, so we don't get stinky stress. I like it. I like it. All right. So I'm gonna give us an opportunity to participate in a breathing exercise, a mindfulness exercise, and a grounding exercise. I think we will have time for all three. I'm hoping. And so what I'd like you guys to do is, and obviously if you don't feel comfortable participating, that's totally fine. You can just sit and relax and listen if you like. But if you guys want to put down your papers, you won't need your papers. And so the reason that if any of you have been to therapy before or to, mental health groups, that kind of thing, the reason that deep breathing is often recommended is that it actually directly impacts your nervous system. So when we breathe deeply and fill up our whole lungs with air and really push all the air out, it actually directly tells your nervous system that you are safe. Because if you were being chased by a bear, you would not be breathing deeply and slowly. You would be breathing very fast and shallow. And so when we breathe deeply, it actually helps reassure the nervous system that everything is fine and that we are in a safe place. And so we're going to do some deep breathing. Again, if you don't feel comfortable, it's totally fine. You can just sit it out. just for a few minutes, and then I'm going to go right into the progressive muscle relaxation. So that's a mindfulness strategy that can help us, again, to achieve a powerful sense of relaxation. And I'm going to weave in a few bits of faith into some of this. There are lots of great, I'm going to talk about it later, there are lots of great resources out there, faith-based Christian resources that do practice deep breathing and things like progressive muscle relaxation. So sit comfortably. So there are forms of Christian meditation, and there are forms of Eastern meditation. And so Christian meditation is actually like an ancient practice from like, shortly after Jesus was resurrected. Yeah.
Call it a person who was a Buddhist person, and they obviously practiced meditation regularly, and so he told him that he needed a Christian mantra.
Oh, okay.
So is just like that's a monk, right?
So there are Christian monks. Yeah. So people who. Yeah.
And that's who the monk, or he's not a monk, but yeah, they practice it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I know that some Christians do have concerns about
meditation being connected to Eastern spirituality or Eastern religions. And so I would say, like, when we do these types of practices with the intent of, like, connecting to Jesus and knowing that God's Spirit is present in us and that God created our bodies, created our breath, like, when we keep our minds and hearts connected to that, I don't think there's an issue.
Ma, ra, na, fa.
Okay.
Which is
I would
ancient-
suggest watch out for the confused deceit when it comes to all that kind of stuff, because we can just simply hang out with Jesus
Yeah.
and put our minds and our bodies there.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
what Maranatha means, Maranatha, is an ancient Aramaic word, which is the language that Jesus spoke, and it means, "Come, Lord Jesus, come."
Cool.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Maranatha.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
So, if people feel comfortable, if you don't, it's totally fine. You can just sit it out. You can read some of the other handouts if you like. So just sit comfortably, and you can just sort of rest your hands on your lap or wherever you feel comfortable. And just take a minute to attempt to breathe in through your nose. And when we breathe out, we'll breathe out through our mouths. And I know this is really uncomfortable with masks on, but we'll keep our mask on. And so when we're breathing in, it's going in through our nose. When we're breathing out, it's going out through our mouths. When we breathe in, we're really attempting to sort of fill up our bellies, fill up our lungs with air. And when we breathe out, we really want to focus on sort of pushing the air all the way out, and exhaling completely. And so the real secret is to go slow. And so we want to bring the inhalation in for about 4 seconds and to take a little pause. And then breathe out for about 6 seconds. So if the exhale can be a bit longer, then that's good. So I'm going to count. If the way I'm counting doesn't feel right for you, just ignore my counting, and go ahead and just breathe deeply, focusing on in through your nose and out through your mouth. And so we'll start with inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little pause. And exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold and exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. And a little hold. And exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so just keep that going and just notice as you're breathing in through your nose. Notice the sensation of the breath as it goes past your nostrils and as it fills up your lungs. And as you breathe out, just notice the feeling of the air as you push it out. And as you continue to breathe in and out, deeply and slowly, just remembering that God's Spirit is here and that God's Spirit is breath and life. Just remembering that God made your lungs, He made this air that we're breathing, and He wants us to be safe. And just bringing that inhale in, nice and slow, and hold and exhale at whatever pace feels good for you. And just continue to notice how it feels to breathe deeply. Going in through your nose, really filling up your lungs completely, and breathing out through your mouth. All right, so continuing to breathe deeply and just remembering that God's Spirit is here and with you and in your breath and in the air and everywhere. We're going to focus on different muscle groups in our bodies and just continue to breathe deeply. We're going to focus on a muscle group and bring some tension to that muscle group for about 10 seconds, just sort of tensing those muscles up and then releasing them. And the purpose of this exercise is to help us achieve a powerful feeling of relaxation and to help us spot where we might be holding tension or anxiety. And so continue to breathe deeply but comfortably. And we'll start with our feet. And so either curl your toes sort of tightly into your feet or sort of flex them up, whatever way you can get some tension going in your feet. And we'll hold, once you've got tension there, we'll hold that tension for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then relax your feet completely. And just notice the difference between the tension and the relaxation. Next, we'll move on to our calves, this muscle here. And so you can point or flex your feet to sort of get some tension in your calf muscle. And hold that tension for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then relax. And just notice the difference between that tension and the relaxation. And just take a moment to check in with your breathing. And just bring it back to a nice slow inhale and exhale. And then our next muscle group will be our quad or our thigh muscle. And so you can tense your thigh muscle or sort of squeeze your quad muscles. Get some tension right there. And hold the tension for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then relax. And just completely let those muscles relax. And our next muscle group will be our abdomen or our torso. And so you can either sort of pull your abdomen in, or you can sort of clench it as though you're doing a sit-up. So find some tension in your abdomen and hold the tension for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then release. Let your abdomen relax. And next we'll do our back. And so you can sort of create some tension in your back muscles. You might want to sort of squeeze your shoulder blades together, or sort of clench the muscles that go down here. If you have back problems, please be careful, and only go so far as it feels okay for you. And so create some tension in your back muscles and hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And relax and just let your back muscles release. We'll do our shoulders. So oftentimes we carry a lot of tension and stress in our shoulders. And so lift and squeeze your shoulders, exaggerate the tension that's already there up towards your ears. Make some tension in your shoulders and hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And relax. And just let your shoulders relax. And we'll do our arms and hands. So make a fist by curling your fingers into your palm, and then bring your fist up toward your shoulders and create tension in your arms and your hands and really exaggerate it. And hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then slowly relax your arms and hands out. Just let them rest. And just take a minute to check your breathing. Just slow it down a bit or make it deeper. Next, we'll create tension in our face. So this is a fun one. You can either lift your eyebrows and open your jaw like this to create some tension in these muscles, or you can squinch your face all together into a little ball. And so scrunch your facial features or lift them to create tension in your face muscles, and hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. And just notice how different that feels. And next we'll do our whole body all at once, which is hard to do. And so try to think about all the different muscle groups and create as much tension as you can in all the different groups, your legs, your abdomen, your face, your shoulders, and hold your whole body tense as you can for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. And just think about all the different areas of your body. Relax all of those muscles out. And just take a minute to check in with yourself and notice how different that feels. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead to one of the exercises I would like us to get to. How was that for everyone? How was the breathing? And that last one we did was called progressive muscle relaxation. What was that like? Good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm glad. Yeah, it's really effective. Again, it's sort of, it sends the message to the nervous system when we tell our muscle groups to relax. And obviously it's hard. Like, I know people with anxiety are often told, just relax. And you're like, go away. But when we do an exercise like this, it actually, again, sends that message to the nervous system that everything is fine. You can choose to relax because there's nothing to, there's no one fighting you, there's no one attacking you. And so, yeah, it doesn't fix everything, but remember, these things are like brushing your teeth. They are effective in the short run, and when we practice them daily, they are effective in the long run. Okay, so... Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've lost my
I just noticed when I was taking that kind of training, that's the breathing mechanism to give you like the through your nose and then out your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you're like hitting or you're even lifting weights.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about sort of working with your
body, right? And yeah, exactly. And our bodies want to like learn from our experiences, and so like if we've had tough experiences, our bodies learn like, oh, I need to be tense, I need to be ready all the time, right? But that's in the current moment not true, and so we need to be able to tell our bodies when it's time to relax. We're getting really close to the end, but there's one last thing I would like to touch on before we go. So there, on the back of the sleep hygiene, there should be a page that talks about, I've lost my copy. Oh, I found it. Challenging negative thoughts. And so this is a big piece. Obviously, we can't really, do this super effectively in 5 minutes. But this is... Okay, that's true, yeah. So we'll go over a little bit. If people need to leave, that's totally fine. And so challenging negative thoughts or challenging anxious thoughts, what we can sometimes call just automatic thoughts, is a really important tool in your tool belt. And so, again, as we were speaking about earlier, fear is a liar and tries to trick you into all kinds of traps that we already talked about. And so if we can challenge some of the thinking that we sort of just automatically come up with, and notice like, is this thought particularly helpful to me? Is this thought even totally true? Is this just an anxious thought that's popping into my brain because my brain is anxious? It can actually really help us manage anxiety, stress, depression differently. And so what I'd like us to do is just spend a couple of minutes, so we won't go super deep into it, trying this worksheet. So the idea here is to think of a situation where you felt a negative emotion, whether that's you felt upset, you felt sad, you felt disappointed or angry or anxious. And so just noticing a situation. I don't want this to be like the worst thing that's ever happened to you. We're not going to go super deep here. We're using this as an example. And so an example might be something like, I was at the grocery store the other day and there was this lady who was rude to me because I walked the wrong way on the arrows on the aisle, right? You know, the arrows. I am constantly walking the wrong way. It's so bad. I cannot pay attention. And so I was, right? The little circles, and I'm like, oh, pay attention. And so let's say I was at the grocery store and this lady was rude to me and she said, can't you see the arrows? You're going the wrong way. And so that made me feel kind of anxious and kind of upset. And so I would write what happened, and I would just jot down, mean lady at the grocery store. And the next question is, why is this upsetting? And I would write about, like, why did it cause me to feel that way? The next question is, what is the negative thought, and how does it make you feel? So I would say in that situation that my negative thought was, oh, I'm so dumb. Why didn't I see the arrows and walk the right way? And that made me feel sad and anxious and dumb. And then the next question is, how does what happened affect the next 5 minutes, the next 24 hours, the next 7 days? And so for the next 5 minutes, I might feel pretty upset and sad and anxious. The next 24 hours, I might think about it a few more times. The next 7 days, I'm probably going to completely forget that that happened, actually, probably a few hours from now, actually. And so how does what happened affect the quality of your life? Okay, so I felt upset for a little bit, maybe a few hours, but overall doesn't really impact the quality of my life. It's okay. How much power are you giving the negative thought? And I think for Christians, this is a really important one, right? If we're empowered by the Holy Spirit, we really want to be checking, like, am I letting fear sort of dictate my thoughts, or am I, inviting the Holy Spirit to be a part of how I think about things? Does that negative thought deserve the control it has over me? So, I felt super upset, and I thought about how mean that lady was, and that she could have talked to me nicer, and blah, 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 blah. And so I've now, lost control for who knows how long. Does that negative thought about me being dumb for walking the wrong way, does it deserve to have that much control in my life? No. Jesus deserves to have control in my life. And next time I have this negative thought, what will you remind yourself of to stay in control? Or perhaps to remind yourself that God is in control. So take a few minutes. Think about a situation that is not super deep and impactful and traumatic, but something like mean lady at the grocery store. So just take a couple of minutes to fill that out. All right, so give people like 1.5 more minutes to finish that up. Okay. And so we don't have time to talk about the specifics of what you wrote down. What was it like, though? So, like, what was the experience of writing those things out like for you? Does that make sense? Yeah. Anybody want to share? Therapeutic. Okay. So, what does that mean to you? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, you could have did better the next time. So, like, next time I need to walk the correct way down the aisles in the grocery store, right? Like, that's, something that, exactly, or try, or, like, be kind to myself when I do it wrong again, right? Like, really sort of noticing, okay, what part of this, again, can I control? Totally. What else? What did people experience while working on the worksheet? A little bit of shame? Okay, yeah. So maybe noticing there are pieces here that, like, I definitely need to work on. Totally. Yeah?
Of a certain torment in my life, and showed me the true reality of this torment. And although, like, throughout this torment in my everyday life with it, I actually see the truth, but I spent 90% stuck in the unreality of it. So I was able to see for a moment now, like I still can see so many different angles of what's really going on.
Nice. So just sort of slow things down, help you to sort of reframe and get a new perspective, perhaps a more accurate perspective. Nice.
Okay,
So the reason I think that worksheets like this can be really, really helpful is partially because it helps us slow down, kind of reframe things.
Joanne, did you want to? Or no, you were fixing your hair. Okay. And so it helps us slow down, kind of maybe see things from a more helpful, a more balanced perspective. I also think it's a biblical practice. And so I totally meant to write down the verse for this. Maybe Tay can help me. I don't know. The verse that talks about, like, take every thought captive and make it subject to Christ. I definitely meant to write down the verse for that. Maybe you can look it up for me. Yeah, we're pretty sure it's Romans. Maybe someone in the comments can help us out. Sorry, I totally meant to write that down. But anyway, basically, we are meant to, like, notice our thoughts and engage with them and make sure that they line up with what Christ would have us think about ourselves and about other people and all kinds of things. And so I think that this can be a really helpful practice, again, to do on a regular basis. The next thing that I was going to have us do, but I think we'll skip and if people want to stick around afterwards and do this is fine, is these coping cards. And so basically these are just really practical things we can do. Oftentimes when I'm feeling very anxious, my brain is going so fast that I cannot remember what I'm supposed to do to help myself, like at all. And so having things written down on a piece of paper and actually carrying them around with you. So these are like little cards that you can cut out. So for instance, taking deep breaths or drawing your worry or journaling or listening to music, that kind of thing. And then it just gives a little description on the back so you can actually cut those out and like keep them in your wallet or keep them in your pocket to kind of help yourself remember what needs to happen. Okay, next thing I'd like to highlight is this other handout that talks about mental health resources in Kingston and online. And so again, it can be tricky to find the right combination of supports that will be useful to you and that are accessible to you. The counseling resources that are listed here are for the most part resources that are free or that have free programming, such as free groups that you can attend. And so definitely check out those websites and see what might be a good fit for you. I've included some helplines or crisis lines that are all available 24/7, 365, except for, I put a little star, Telephone Aid Line Kingston, Talk Kingston, which is only available between 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., and I wrote that. And so if you are having difficulty and are in crisis, please use a crisis line. Crisis workers are trained to help you get through that moment, trained to help connect you to supports. And so please use crisis if you are in a crisis. I would like to direct everyone's attention to the second page where it says free online mental health support. There are two very exciting supports that I think everyone should know about, especially right now during COVID. So one is called Mind Beacon. And so basically this is a free mental health support for people in Ontario. It is free for a limited time. Like I think it's like the government is subsidizing it like during COVID only. So like you may as well use it right now. And so the great thing about this is that it is completely online, text, email-based support. You don't have to show up to an appointment. There are no appointment times, but you are connected with a therapist who supports you through text and messages and emails and stuff like that. And so this is a great thing for people who are not good at going to appointments. This is a really great way to get some support. You can have support for 12 weeks to a year, and there are no appointments. It's completely flexible, and it's free. Wellness Together Canada is the second one here. So Wellness Together Canada has free mental health and substance abuse support. Services range from just, basic wellness information to actual one-on-one online sessions with a counselor that are free, as well as participating in like a community of like peer-to-peer support. So some really awesome stuff there. They have a text service. You can just text them. You can connect online. Really, again, fabulous. Like, I can't even believe these things exist. When I was a teenager and there was nothing, like, I would have, like, been so excited for something like this. And so, absolutely, like, give some of these things a try. Last thing I just want to draw people's attention to is apps. There's definitely an app for that. And so, some helpful things that may be helpful to try out. Mindshift is a really fabulous CBT-based anxiety relief app. Reflect. I put the little logos because I feel like when I search apps, it seems like there's a million of the one that I'm trying to find, so I included the logos. Reflect Christian Mindfulness is really lovely. There's one called The Fabulous that helps you build healthy habits like drinking water on time. Pray As You Go and Lectio 365 are both guided prayer, daily devotional type things. Okay, so I'm going to skim through my last few slides really fast. Oh, click, click, click. Can you make it go? Sorry. Oh, there we go. Oh, I went too far. One back. So just about supports. Please use local and online resources to help yourself learn skills and get support with your mental health. Try things out. I think I've said this a few times by now, but please try things out. The first thing you try may not be a good fit for you, and that does not mean that something else won't be a good fit for you. You should definitely try multiple things and keep trying until you find something that works. I have had 6 therapists in my life, and I'm 40. And so, that's like, I don't even know. What is that? 1 every 3 years or something? So, so please keep trying if you don't find a good fit at first. I'm going to very fast skim through what does the Bible say about all of this, because Tay did such an amazing job about this already. And so key points, God wants us to be honest with him about our mental health. So in Psalm 139, it says, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts." God loves us and wants to work with us to improve our mental health. And so when I was a teenager, I really thought that there should be a quick fix. And then I became a Christian. And then I thought, God will fix it. And then it'll be all better and I won't have to deal with this anymore. And that also was not the case. So God wants to work with us to improve our mental health. And so we may need to be willing to engage with him on a variety of things. Last thing is Jesus is not afraid of or indifferent to our mental health issues and suffering. And so in John he says, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble." So he promises you're going to have some issues and problems. But take heart. I have overcome the world. And so we can remember that we can trust him. When Jesus was in the boat with the disciples and there was a massive storm, he calmed the storm, and Jesus can calm the storms in our lives. Even during COVID-19, we can go to him when we're feeling sad, overwhelmed, anxious, stressed, afraid, feeling low, and we can find peace in him. And so last thing, we will get through this. God will get us through this, and COVID-19 is no match for Jesus. And so I hope you enjoyed the workshop today, and please feel free to take the resources home. There's extra copies, so please feel free to take them to your friends. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
This world we live in, as we know, is pretty messed up, evil and dark. It's always been that way.
Yes.
Compared to now, back then people were always getting slaughtered and this and that. There was no sort of functioning society like we got. Yeah. So mental health was probably pretty nasty back then.
Yeah.
You know? Like I feel like our mental health is probably lightweight compared to what they suffered with. So he knows. And in that song, he yeah. You know?
Really? That's awesome. Thank you, Billy.
Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you, Billy.
Yes, thank you.
Very wrong.
Yes. Okay. So you're talking about stay after looking at something else?
Oh yeah, if you want to cut up these worry coping cards, there's scissors in the pink basket here.
Okay.
So feel free to cut them up, and then you can have them in your wallet